All right, welcome in. Welcome to News Report TV. Okay. Um, I'm going to be touching this subject in regards to Taxstone and Troy Ave. Okay. So let's get right to it. So the question is, has Troy Ave sealed Taxstone's fate in this case? There's been quite a wait. Taxstone did not get bail in this case, or I think if he did get bail, I think he was really high. Let me see, because I don't think Taxstone got bail on this. Yeah, the bail was revoked. So he had so back in 2017, there was a $500,000 bail that was posted. Um, but he was deemed to be dangerous, and so let's see what caused them to revoke the bail. Hmm. All right, so I'm not sure why it was revoked, but the bail was revoked since 2017, and Taxstone has been in jail ever since, right? Troy Ave, I believe he had been arrested. Okay, so yeah, they said that Taxstone's bail was rescinded. I don't believe I don't believe Troy Ave ever was required to hmm. So Taxstone was the one that was really being implicated. And the details that are coming out now, I feel like I don't feel like Troy Ave is the one that sealed Taxstone's fate. I think everything sealed Taxstone's fate because there's video, there's video, there's somebody who has lost their life, unfortunately, and there's other people who were wounded. There was a guy who got shot, and I guess he got shot in his stomach, and basically something was wrong with his intestines. So there were other people that got injured besides Banga. Banga was a friend of Troy Ave and also his bodyguard. And um I was not really a big fan of Taxstone to begin with because because of these little, just kind of like silly beefs that were going on. He had a problem with Ebro. He had a problem with Joe Budden, which Joe Budden can be problematic anyway. Joe Budden sometimes just says some things. Um, he had a problem with a lot of people, and I think he was trying to, I think not trying, but he was making a name for himself as a media personality. He was gaining a lot of traction, and I was happy in that sense because it was kind of veering him away from the street beefs and the issues. But at the same time, I think in order to garner attention and be as big as he was becoming, that was also helping his name. So not a big fan in that sense because I don't like to see that. I don't like to see, all of these little silly beasts and stuff like that occurring. But at the same time, I was happy for him or proud for him that he was kind of veering. I felt like he was improving or becoming a better man. So in that sense, I was happy for him. Um, because there was a lot of improvements that Taxstone was making. Now, what confuses me is that right before the Irving shooting, the Irving Plaza shooting, supposedly there was a meeting between Taxstone and Troy Ave where they spoke. Taxstone was trying to enter a venue or a location where Troy Ave was. Troy Ave came out to talk to Taxstone, and they kind of, said their apologies to each other or something like that. Or I guess it was they were just trying to figure out, okay, where does this beef or this issue stem from? And then I guess Taxstone's response was like, hey, well, I just said this because you said that, right? So I don't I I I I guess that means that the issue wasn't really resolved if you see each other after that incident, and then a shooting occurs. So apparently the issue wasn't really resolved. So that I'm very confused about. I want to get I would like to get an account of what happened from Taxstone, because that's what Troy Ave said. I heard that from Troy Ave. So anyway, um I'm not rooting for one over the other because I feel like they both contributed to the nonsense. And Troy Ave, I did go over to his channel. He has a channel on YouTube as well. And I like the topics that he discusses. I don't agree with everything that he's saying, but he has some very interesting topics over there. And he is basically trying to veer away from this gangster persona or whatever the streets are saying you should be and things like that, in order to I feel like that's in order to justify whatever he is going to do. And I don't wrong him for that, because a lot of the rules or a lot of the things that young people believe are codes in the street are not really codes. People are kind of sending these kids out on dummy missions, and it's leading to nothing. You're going to lose your life over somebody stepping on your sneaker, or because somebody said they didn't like you, or these are things that in elementary, or as we when we were younger, the reason why we get sent to school is to cope with each other, right? To be in a classroom, to be in a work, well, okay, to be in a classroom with other kids who you may or may not like, but to still be respectful. So we're basically coping or learning how to cope with other personalities that we don't necessarily get along with, and how we work around that, because in the real world, you can't, you shouldn't, right? It's not going to say you can't, because you could, but you shouldn't, fight your coworker every time you don't like them or you don't like something that they say. We have to learn to express ourselves instead of, oh, I'm gonna fight this person, or I'm gonna this. You got to kind of work around that, right? So I think that Troy Ave did play that game, but I just, the only thing I don't like about the whole Troy Ave portion is the way he's playing as if he's innocent in this whole situation. And I don't think he is innocent, because I think they both contributed to what happened that night. I didn't even know that this was a T.I. concert. Apparently, I did see that Troy Ave was suing Irving Plaza for what happened that night. So I think Troy Ave is suing them. I don't think he necessarily wanted to do that. I think he was forced to do that, because I think as a result, I think he may have to be paying out to his bodyguard's family. So maybe he's getting ahead of the game and suing Irving Plaza. I don't know if he's suing, I don't know if that's going to include T.I. because it was T.I.'s concert. I had no idea T.I. was in this. So there's just a couple of things that came out that I don't agree with. Um so I just talked about like Taxstone's personality a little bit. So as far as Troy Ave's personality, I do kind of feel like it is play like he plays things up a bit. I don't know. I just feel like a little bit of an ingenuineness to it. I remember when this first happened, and I remember when Troy Ave went on the Breakfast Club, and he talks about the whole thing, and he talks about it like a story. He talks about it like he was trying to be cool, and I just felt like it was just not necessary for him to do that because his bodyguard, whom that may be your friend, but there's different. Before I say this, let me look it up so y'all can know what I'm talking about, right? Let me look it up because I'm about to say something and I want y'all to know what I'm talking about. All right, so what I was about to say is he may have loved his bodyguard, right? He may have had love for him, right? But the thing is, there's 8 different types of love: romantic love, affectionate love, familiar love, playful love, enduring love, obsessive love, universal love, and self love. I don't know which one, because my point is that his love may have just been surface level. It's his bodyguard, it's just his friend, right? Um, but what about his mother, right? I wonder where his mother would fall under one of these. Because I think like agape love, that's the universal love. Agape, AGAPE, that one is like, like if we're watching the news, right, and we see something happen, something tragic happen to somebody that we don't even know, right? We might feel something and say, man, you know, because we have that love for another human being or that empathy for another human being, right? So that's just like a little bit of surface level. But then for the one with a friend, I'm trying to see which one that would be. I don't know which one that will be. So you have Eros, that's romantic. It's not Eros. We got Eros, Philia, Storge, Ludus, that's playful love. Storge is familiar love. Philia is affectionate love. Pragma is enduring love. Manaya is obsessive love. And Philuatia, that's self love. Anyway, the point is, he could have never loved his bodyguard the way the bodyguard's mother loves him. And so what about those people that love this man, the family, right? Whom you are going on to the Breakfast Club and I felt like the way he was talking about the Irving Plaza was like if he was like trying to make it cool, like, you know? Then I also heard that there was some type of issue between Troy Ave and Mano because Mano saw the bodyguard on the floor, and apparently Troy Ave was trying to pick the bodyguard up. I'm trying to pick my man's up. This part annoyed me because I feel like you don't even know if you were supposed to move the body. How do you know if the bodyguard banger? How do you know the bodyguard had an opportunity to still live? You were supposed to call 911, not pick his body up. I mean, you learn that. Like, even when you have like a car crash, if somebody is in a very compromising position, um, you have to be careful on how you pull that person out of the car, because you may be doing more damage than helping. Of course, if the car is about to blow up, I'm gonna just pull you out. But what I'm saying is, I felt like he should have called 911, not picked his friend up. You're not in a game. You're not inside of a what do you call it? This is not Grand Theft Auto. And that's how I feel like Troy Ave talks about this whole situation as if it's some sort of game. I know what he's saying. He's saying things like, that's my friend, that's my man. I know he's saying that, but I don't know. I'm just getting a whole other vibe from it. I feel like the way he's talking about it as if this is a game, and this is not a game. And I feel like maybe it's to no fault of him. Maybe he's just been in situations. A lot of young men who have been living this kind of street life, they kind of at some point you become heartless or cold, and you do kind of look at it, without any I mean, it just the love or whatever affection or whatever you would want to call it is out of it. So That's unfortunate though, because if that's really your friend, that your friend has family who really love him, and you shouldn't be playing this up like it's some type of game, because it's not. Your friend really lost his life to that. And I feel like this is why I'm saying that a lot of these street codes and street things where people are beefing and having issues, it's like you're sending yourself or your friends out on a dummy mission, right? You want to go and shoot, kill, or you know, have an issue with somebody. And when we all boil this down, I think if we were to really do a deep dive into where this problem stemmed from, it's egos, right? Somebody's ego got bruised because, um, according to Troy Ave's recollection of that meeting that Taxstone and Troy Ave had, or that encounter, it was like, oh, I only said this because you said that. And I remember Taxstone said a story, and this is why I do kind of have a liking for Taxstone's development. He did tell a story about that. I think it was on Vlad TV, where he told a story about how he remember he was going back and forth beefing with somebody, and it was over something like really minor. And he sat there one day and realized that, like, yo, this is stupid, you know? And speaking of, right, because I remember hearing a clip from, I think it was from Math Hoffa. Math Hoffa also had some sort of issue with Taxstone at some point, and I guess he also contemplated in his head and said, "Oh, he should go run down or whatever the case is." But then he thought to himself, that doesn't make any sense. The issue between myself and this person is documented all over the internet. As soon as something happens, my name is going to be brought up, which is correct, right? So if it's something so minor, I don't think it should be taken to that anyway. What do I know? Moving on. I did check out Troy Ave's channel, and I was very intrigued at one of the um there was a couple of topics that was very interesting. He was talking about where are the parents to these bad kids, something like that, or like where are the parents or something like that. And I said, and I like I said, these topics are very interesting. Um, and I think that they're worth exploring, but I just feel like I'm not getting I don't know who the real Troy Ave is. That's my problem. Anyway, that topic was interesting, and then there was another video I clicked on, and I kind of fast forwarded because I was just trying to get to like what was like the topic of the show, and they were talking about um on that show they were talking about men who try to give other men advice, but those men who were trying to give the advice came from a single parent household, and they were raised by women, and you have feminine ways, so you can't give me advice. And I thought that that was very ignorant. So he went around the room asking everyone there, were you were your parents married? So everybody there, including Troy Ave, said, yes, my parents were married. And based on that, he's trying to say if somebody's opinion is valid or not. And the reason why I'm saying that is ignorant is because whether somebody is married or not, we see a lot, whether it be, we're not going to make this about race, any race. We see a lot kids that grew up in two parent households and they're not successful, or they have things wrong or going on with them. And actually, I'm going to give you a great reference right now. I'm going to get the guy's name, because saying that is very ignorant, and it just makes no sense. You have to, let me see. I'm going to get the guy name right now. Uh, Let me get his name. So here's a perfect example as to why that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether, as a matter of fact, I'm going to give you another example right now. correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Joe Budden's parents are together. I feel like when I've seen the episode of Love and Hip Hop, that his mom was also with the dad. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know. But Joe Budden is very successful. He may not have had a long, I feel like he had a bit of success in his music career, but he did establish some sort of success. Like the dude, I think he's a millionaire, right? So I would equate that to being successful. And I think it was even by choice that he did not continue to pursue the music. And he's now, you know, I would say he's going to end up being like a staple in hip hop when it comes to a voice. He's a very prominent and significant voice in the culture. So I don't, he comes from a two-parent household. Um, but even though as much success as we see Joe Budden has had, right? We also know about his transparency, about his struggles with drugs, right? And then he also had other struggles as far as his relationships with women. So I mean that might be making your point or not making your point because he may have came from it may be just his mother. So I don't know if I'm making a good point, but if I remember correctly, I think he came from a two-parent household. Anyway, if that doesn't make my point, my other example is Charlie Tan. Okay, this is not any popular or famous person, but this is the story about Charlie Tan. He's not a popular famous person, but he's I don't know, I guess we would call him infamous. He murdered his dad. Okay, and what happened is his mom and his dad were together, and they were together and married for years. But however, his dad was abusing his mother, and because his dad was abusing his mother, um, he went to college, rightfully so. I think that he had a younger brother as well. The younger brother was still in the household. The younger brother was still expressing to Charlie how the dad was still, treating the mother. And not only that, I think the mother was even also expressing. There were multiple reports, reports of domestic violence and things like that throughout the years. And I mean, even one time he had choked her so bad that she thought she was going to die. I think she called 911 right away, after that happened. She thought she was going to die. So I believe, or according to the story that I heard, Charlie then planned this. Like he planned, like, you know what, this is enough. And he killed his dad. So we can't say that staying together for the sake of the children, because I think that's the point that you're trying to make. Staying together for the sake of the children is not what makes a child great. Because if you expose a child to um this that kind of trauma, you can end up hurting your child instead of helping your child. So being married does not mean that, for one, the child is going to have feminine ways. Sometimes it's best for that child to not have um, that person in their life because they're toxic, because they're not healthy, because they're not, it's just like, I don't know, I could give you the worst example, having a parent who's an alcoholic or a drug user, and that person actually is not going to be attentive. They're not going to be there for your birthdays and for, be a responsible parent and get you to school or just do the things that a parent is supposed to do. So you can't say that that, you know, marriage means that the man that came from a household because they were raised by a single mother. What about that mother's brothers? So there's uncles around. There's other people that help to raise that child. So it doesn't necessarily mean that that child is going to have feminine ways. And then another thing that shows me or exposes about you is that you think that you're probably above reproach, to where a woman can't even come to you and say, hey, this is my opinion on things, or whatever the case is, because quote unquote feminine ways. Like that's just, it's just uh, if you're that's why I say his persona is just giving me fake, because if you're trying to say that I'm going to get on the stand and don't, the street code is fake and all of this is fake, da 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 da, And you're being so expressive. Being expressive is also associated with being in touch with your feminine side, right? Because if you're only in touch with your masculine side, you wouldn't be able to express yourself. You wouldn't be able to be in touch with who you are. Everybody, whether a man or a woman, has a feminine side and a masculine side, right? The feminine side, because you were talking about, being a parent, the feminine side is what allows you or helps you to be in connection with your kids and show them love and kiss them and hug them, you know? So this idea that you're above the feminine, um, and I'm not even going into a conversation where it's like equal, if we're equal or not. I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about the fact that you're saying that just because somebody is raised by a single mother or raised by a woman, that you're not accepting any of their advice. And that makes no sense. And President Obama is a very educated man, and I do not believe his father was very prominent. He was also raised by a woman who gave him books to read. He's very well read. You're not, Troy Ave, you're not anywhere near as educated as a Barack Obama. So you're telling me that Barack Obama can't give you advice? So when I went over there, that was the most ignorant thing I've ever heard in my life, you know? So I just feel like what I get from him is that, this is all like a game, like this is all some like gangster movie kind of thing, like that he's really like, if a family member of mine was passed away, I don't want anybody going online and acting like this is some type of movie. And I understand that it was an unreal like kind of situation. It was just, probably like a surreal situation to him, because it's like, oh my God, and it probably caused some trauma, because you see your friend or somebody that you hang out with every day lose their life just like that. And it probably could have been avoided. So I feel like Troy Ave, um, what's the word? Troy Ave contributed to this as much as Taxstone did. And so that's what I wanted to say. And I wanted to say that I feel like Troy Ave should stop talking about this in the manner that he is, because I feel like it's disrespectful to his bodyguard, because his bodyguard lost his life. And so rest in peace. And I really feel for the family, and I hope that they find healing, and my condolences as well. And I feel like the way that he's portraying things is it just seems like this is like a game to him. And I just, I don't know. So okay, so moving forward. So another part of the trial, Casanova Two Times' name came up because apparently Taxstone's friend, so let me get his name. Mm, I want to get his name because all right, I think it's something with a C. But anyway, this guy whom this guy whom where did I see it? Where- So a friend to Taxstone, or a former friend rather, received a call from Taxstone just after everything happened. I don't think I'm repeating this in the order that it occurred, but wait, where did oh no, actually Casanova two times is the one that called this friend. So it's like a mutual friend, and that guy received a call from Casanova. That guy's phone is tapped because I don't know if he was already an informant or um, he became an informant later. I don't know how it worked. But this guy is an informant and received a call from Casanova two times. So Casanova was not aware that he was being, that the phone was tapped and being recorded. But Casanova basically is like, yo, Taxstone just did this, da 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 da. So they have that recording verifying that Taxstone, trying to say that that supports the fact that Taxstone is basically the shooter. However, I don't think that is really. I don't feel like that really seals anything or does anything. I mean, people are viewing it like that, and so from my perspective, I feel like the only way I don't understand why a letter was sent to the judge pointing the finger to Troy Ave. I think Troy Ave's defense, and I don't know how it works. This all happened in New York. I don't know what the laws are, and I don't know why the attorney is taking the approach that they are, but I feel like the approach should be self-defense. Like, do we not have that? Like, would Taxstone have not had the right to defend himself? Um, because in the video supports the fact that I don't know what this is. The video supports the fact that Troy Ave himself motioned to Banger to go after Jackson. Is if that happened, that supports self-defense. What am I gonna stand there if somebody is coming after me? I'm just gonna stand there. So I think that I think that that recording, I heard a lot of people saying that recording was damning. I don't think so. I think that I think that if somebody is coming after you, of course you have to, defend yourself. So I don't see how that is. I don't see how that was hurt his. I mean, all may not be lost. All may not be lost. However, I don't think that Troy Ave's testimony is what sealed Taxstone's fate. And I think that Taxstone um attorney should consider, you know, some sort of self-defense, like trying to explore like, hey, this was self-defense. I don't see any other defense working besides that. Now, I think, however, that whether it falls on Taxstone, I honestly don't think that any of this is gonna fall on Troy Ave. However, I do feel like Taxstone is going to have to do some sort of time, and it's just regardless, somebody's gonna have to do some time. And the reason why I'm saying that is because there were multiple other people that were injured. I'm saying multiple. I know I heard of one person, but I did look this up and I saw a female. She was on a stretcher as well. So I think it was more than one person that was injured. And as a matter of fact, one of the people that were injured was actually downstairs. They weren't even on the same floor. So this really got crazy. So, and then not only that, somebody lost their life. So I feel like any which way you put it, somebody is going to have to pay in a civil case and in criminally as well, because they have the shooter, they have Taxstone's DNA on the gun, and that is very, very, very damning. So that's my take on that. Thank you for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.